Cam Jordan's a superstar in the NFL. He's an all-pro and multi-year Pro Bowl selection. But more importantly, though, is the fact that he's a nice guy. Cam's approachable, relatable, and he understands the value of bringing happiness to the fans through his humor, personality, and, of course, fearsome play on the field. It's a pleasure to welcome Cam Jordan to Great Dane Nation. And Cam, I want you to know that you made a lasting positive impression on my oldest son, Sebastian, whom you spent some time with in training camp a few years back at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia when we were up there for my Saints Ring of Honor announcement. I don't know if you remember that, but it has made an indelible mark on my 21-year-old son, who's now a junior at Michigan State. So I want to start out by saying thanks for joining me, and thank you for being a great influence on these young guys.
Hey, absolutely. I mean, just like when you're in the league, when you have the platforms that we have, we get the admiration of kids that we're not aware of, and at any given time, you don't know what words or what positive lighting that you can give to another person is actually going to do beneficial good. So any interactions, you always try and keep it positive. You always try and keep it light and have fun with it. And if you talk about just the West Virginia experience, I mean, from, it sounds weird as hell to say, we had like a cookout situation with the fans integrated into what we did, but it brought a closer feel to what we were doing in West Virginia at the time. I should have brought us a playoff run, but
we'll get to that because we'll get to that.
Right. I mean, that's when you think, West Virginia, I think, oh, it was phenomenal. It was like being out in, at the time, the San Diego Chargers training camp, that beautiful weather. You couldn't ask for perfect weather, but at the same time, it brought us 3 years of a drought of playoffs. So that's, 7-9, 7-9, 7-9. That's what I attach to West Virginia.
It's kind of nice that you've been able to play your whole career so far with one franchise. And I know a lot of guys are bouncing around 3 years, 4 years here, and then free agency takes them somewhere else. I was able to stay 13 years in New Orleans, love the place. It seems like you've really gravitated to New Orleans. It seems like they have gravitated towards you. It seems like a love affair. Talk to me about your relationship with not only with the city, but the fans and the culture here, because it is a very unique place. Hard to explain, has to be experienced.
Man, I'm not even bashful about how blessed I am to be in a part of Who Dat Nation. I guess, another, blessed, biased, bashful, a lot of B's in that one. But when you think about, being able to be drafted in New York, to New Orleans, 24th pick overall. I remember coming in weeks prior, going in on a visit to talk to the coaching staff and sitting down with Bill Johnson at the time, the D-line coach for the yeah, love Bill. Talking to him, he was like, I don't even know why we're doing this interview. You won't be there. Everybody knows you're locked in top 15. And I was like, hey, as long as you know and I know, but I would be more than happy for you guys to come get me. I don't, I'm a warm weather guy. I want to stay warm weather. And lo and behold, I fall to 24 and to the perfect place. I mean, I'm in New Orleans. I get here. They drafted Mark Ingram 4 picks after me. So they gave me like my best friend from jump. You didn't have to look too far to find a best friend. And, you automatically have a brother in arms that you start, training with, growing with, whatever it is, but you push each other to be the best you can be. And I had that from jump for 8 years straight.
Dare I say big trust right here, perhaps?
That's what I'm saying. Big trust levels, you create a podcast with later on.
Oh, let's go with that, let's go with the levels.
Exactly.
So Mark, you guys are kind of rolling with the pod, and he turned out to be like your bestie, right? And I guess it was kind of his introduction in Baltimore, right, to Jackson, I guess a press conference when that whole thing started, or how did that whole
the Lamar Jackson, Big Jackson. Yeah, he's the real deal. If you ask Mark Ingram, he's about that. So you can meet him at the bank. That whole situation equals big.
I love it. All right, that's big trust. So where did the levels come from? Because it's kind of understated, bro. It's not like it's
Absolutely. So levels is my sack. It has always been my sack celebration. Um, just because I think like my second or third year in the league, with guys like Will Smith, rest in peace, but Roman Harper and Jonathan Vilma were like, look, man, get you a sack celebration. Will at the time would, kiss his biceps.
Yes.
Roman Harper did, the Uncle Bernie, the dance.
Yeah, that's good.
And then they were just telling me, they was like, look, man, get you something that you can do. It's going to require a lot of energy. So, and the fans can get behind you. And I was like, okay, let me figure something out. And at the time, heading into my second year, I had one sack my entire rookie year. So it's not like I was just sitting on a whole bunch of sacks. So my first, somewhere in that second, third year, I figured it out. I was like, look, I just got to keep stacking. I was like, look, I can be a phenomenal run stopper. I can make all the TFLs in the world. But at the end of the day, the Gotti stack, the stat that everybody looks at is sacks for a defensive lineman. You could have a hell of a year. And
95 and a half. Is that what we got right now?
94 and a half.
So what do we do when we get that half sack? Do you kind of half level it or what?
A full level. You fight for each one of these. Okay. Right.
You're about to enter a real exclusive club, bro, at 100. Only 35 guys have done it. I don't know if you knew that.
Lord's blessings. I mean, with his favor, I'll get there.
Well, you're going to get there, bro. I got to tell you something since you told me what your sack dance was. I was a kicker.
Right.
I had one. No, well, I was okay. I had one move, Cam. I had one move. It was on kickoffs, and it was meant to intimidate. And you're going to say, well, a kicker can't intimidate.
There we go.
I would cock the gun. So I was I'm going to show you. So I can't. I don't have enough room. But I would, if this is my left leg, okay, I would cock it out and down. So the gun was loaded for the kickoff. I would do it on field goals. I'd cock the gun and set it.
Okay.
And that thing was spring loaded. And then it was live ammo, baby. What do you think? Cocking the gun, man.
No doubt. Okay. I can get behind that.
Look at some old tape. If you're feeling old school one day.
Right.
Take a look. You got to go back to reel, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they transferred it over to digital. But you're going to see some black and white, tape.
So now I know what it is.
In the 80s, in the 80s and 90s, when we were rolling a little bit here, we had the Dome Patrol.
Right.
And I know you've studied the history of the guys.
Vaunted,
Ricky Jackson, Vaughn Johnson, Sam Mills, and Pat Swilling. Doesn't get much better at the linebacking position.
I'm 20 sacks behind Ricky. I passed up Pat, and
and you're going to be up there in that Ring of Honor, man, next to all of us. That's going to happen, bro. Yeah. It's gonna.
Only thing I really want to happen is Super Bowl, but I hear you. Look. That's all I got.
Right, so we can go there first. Let's go there first, and then I want to talk about your dad too. I want to talk about the lineage and what has brought you to this point. But since we're in the present with all this fun stuff, we've been so close, and I say we because I'm a Saints by heart. I'm a Saint by heart. I always will be. Everybody knows that.
I'll say by de facto birthright.
Exactly. We've been close. We've been so close the last 4 years. What's missing and why didn't we get it done? We beat Tampa twice this year. What was different the third time in your mind? So maybe take me through the Tampa experience in the playoffs and then talk to me about the last 3-4 years when it's like the last play of the game where we just are so talented, but we're not able to go deep.
Man, that's what really hurts when you talk about, the camaraderie in the locker room, because every locker room is going to be different, and every locker room isn't special enough where you can truly say each one of us know each other. Each one of us as a 53 man actually cares about each individual person. Sometimes you have a locker room who it might be a little divisive. It might have some guys that are secluded. You might have some your team doesn't always necessarily have to get along, all 53 of you. But this is one of those locker rooms the last couple of years where it's been like everybody relies on each other. Everybody, has an open line of communication where you can talk. And that's rare to have. culminating to, this year where everybody knows how special it is to be in this building. We're talking about, the offense, defense, looking at special teams like you're an elite unit. We're relying on you more so than, we've ever done before. That we have expectations, and the special teams unit doing what they did this year was nothing short of special. You talk about offense and how, normally it's just been from a fan's perspective, it's Drew Brees, and sometimes it was Marcus Colston, it was Lance Moore, it was Devery Henderson. It's to now where it's Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, it's knowing more. It's fans knowing Andrews Pete, fans knowing Teron Armstead. How often do you know the offensive line? Ryan Ramczyk. So you get a first rounder in Cesar Ruiz, and he's able to contribute the way he had. It's everybody again being more than. You talk about our defense where you're fully loaded from Marcus Williams to Marshawn Lattimore, Jack Rabbit. You bring in Malcolm Jenkins, who had his first stint with the team when I was first a part of the Saints. And then you even talk about linebacker core. You have Demario Davis. You've got you bring in Quan Alexander, who was phenomenal for us while he was healthy. And then the defensive line. You've got Trey Henderson, who had a monster year this year.
Monster.
Marcus Davenport, Sheldon Rankins, again, who had another monstrous year and nobody talks about for some reason, is big David Onyemata. He had 6 sacks from the nose tackle position at this point because as we get to third down, we became a 3-4 with a blitzing mentality 3-4 system. And to have the type of production he has, nobody talked about it. And it was the most irksome thing. But to just have the locker room that we had this year and fall short is mind blowing. It's emotionally and physically draining.
Have you had enough time and enough distance to dissect it and to think about objectively why the Saints didn't get it done?
Yeah, I mean, I probably was able to do that 2 days over because 3 days out. The first 2 or 3 days, I'm like, you go through the process of mourning the lost season. True mourning. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to, please just leave me alone. I'm not the best person right now. You just watch a film like, we wish we would have made this play. I could have made this play. This is the one that got us. Like this, after 2 or 3 days, you sit back like, all right, it's not just, we had 4 turnovers. We had, a short field, but as a defense, you're harping on, we gave up 21 points off of 66 yards of Tampa Bay offense. It's not like they were stellar during our game, but they did enough to win. And what we did was we gave a team that knew they weren't better than us confidence. And as you know, on any given Sunday, if you're not the most desperate team, you leave an ability of error. And we had some errors.
And it's hard to let them if they hang around, and it's hard to beat. I'm not kissing anybody's butt here, but it is hard to beat a Tom Brady team 3 times in one season. That's not an excuse, but you guys whooped up on them pretty good in the regular season. Do you think those 2 wins somehow brought you to a point of overconfidence?
No, not at all. I knew we knew exactly who they were, what they were. But the difference between the 2 games is, the first game they averaged 2.5 yards a carry. The second game, they might have been negative.
Got nothing on the ground. Nothing on the ground.
They had 8 yards on the ground. This third game was a difference changer. They had, they were averaging almost 3 to 3.5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And that's something that, we were aware of. In fact, in the first half, I think they were averaging 4.2 a carry. It was something extremely high we hadn't really had except for Philadelphia game. And you saw what happened then.
And you're right, because in the Super Bowl, they ran the ball in Kansas City too.
Right. You can if you limit them through the air, it's not like they're going to really beat you through the air because Tom Brady does such a phenomenal job of getting the ball out hot. When they talk about how vaunted their offensive line has been this past year, you just look at who they've been guarding. When you're releasing the ball in 2.5 seconds, it doesn't really matter about what offensive line is in front of him. Tom Brady is Tom Brady for a reason because he's able to release the ball as fast as he does. He's able to dissect defenses as fast as he does. He lives for the next down. So you look at our third game and you see, how we were able to start off early, just a defensive wise, of eliminating him in the air. The difference would be is we let ground attack games sort of get to us. I mean, at the end of the game, he had 199 yards in the air. That shouldn't be able to beat you. But again, you look to our defense. Our defense allowed 21 points to be up versus 66 yards. That's something you can look at.
Yeah, you're making a good point there.
Absolutely.
And a lot of stuff, a lot has been said about Drew Brees, and this is his last year. Is this his last year? And if so, who is it? Taysom Hill up next?
Jameis Winston up next, I believe, is what Sean Payton said.
Jameis, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Sean wouldn't say, he's fighting for Jameis to be back if our goal was to have Taysom. But that's again, rare instances where it's just beyond my pay grade. Rare.
A diplomatic answer. Another guy who was very diplomatic but a really good ball player was your dad, Steve Jordan, who was a tight end for 13, 14 years, I think, with the Minnesota Vikings. And
13, yeah, right along.
And your dad and I actually spent some time in Hawaii together at a Pro Bowl or two, and always really enjoyed being with your father. Talk to me about your relationship with your dad, what it was like growing up, having a dad who was a really good professional football player, and how that kind of affected you, how that teed you up for greatness yourself, and his mentorship and what he meant to you.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way I could put it is when you have somebody in your life from jump. I don't have to say father figure. My father is, of course, the foremost hero that I had growing up as a kid. When you see his work ethic, I mean, he retired from football when I was 1994. So I was 5, I believe. I was 4, about to be 5, like that threshold. My fondest memories are like me running around hitting what I thought was a boulder, but it was just one of those handbags. It was like being in the locker room, being around guys, wrestling people, like those moments that I can recall that I thought were just like everyday experiences. You realize how high of an access you had, or how special these moments were later on in life. But again, the work ethic that he put on display. I mean, so he retires when I'm 4 or 5, but every other day that I can remember for practically my entire childhood was him going out, working out. It's 3 or 4 workouts at home because we had our own little, like, I wouldn't call it a gym. We had weights and free weights and like a squat rack or whatever growing up, and you see him working out every other day. And this is after coming in from a job, as we all, or maybe they don't know. My dad went to Brown University, which is an Ivy League, to be an engineer. He was an engineer in the offseason because back when you guys were playing, he almost matched the NFL pay his first year, in the offseason being an engineer. And so exactly. So he went through one of those. He went through like, look, I love football, but engineering is something that I also went to school for and had a passion for, and I'm also making almost as much in the offseason versus 6 months of commitment. 6 months of football, putting your body through the ringer commitment.
Cam, are you ready for my first year salary in 1982? Are you ready to hear that number?
82. Pops was what, 82 to 94? So I can tell you 32 grand.
40 grand. I was a 4th round pick in the 82, so I got a $42,500 signing bonus.
Okay.
And then the first 3 years, I made 40, 55, and 70.
You made more than Pops did. Pops was 7th round, so he was 32 grand.
I should be okay. I should be proud of the numbers.
I'm not saying there's levels to everything. Pick it up.
I love it. Everything's relative, and there's no point. There's no place for envy. Number one, there's no place for what ifs, and I should have played in a different era. Because we are where we're supposed to be.
I mean, I always say I should have played in a different era just because you're allowed to hit quarterbacks.
Well, yeah, you got a good point there. And I want to talk to you about that for a second. But let me just finish the lineage, and then we'll get back to the position you played, defensive end. You go to Arizona, go to high school there. You throw the discus in the shot put. How about that?
I was
man. I see the traps. I see them.
Yeah. Really there for discus, but I mean,
state champ.
Stay champ. Stay champ. I honestly have to be honest. I choked my junior year and took second, which of course.
So you're the best loser.
Oh man. So junior year I took second. Senior year I took it home, but it hurt. You know what I'm saying? It was
being second motivated you be first.
Absolutely. I chucked the. This is my competition problem. My competitive spirit. I chucked the second place medallion away. Like chucked it as soon as I got it. Like just got chewed out for it when I got home too.
Oh, that didn't sit well with your dad.
No, it didn't sit well with my mother. My dad completely understood. Yeah. Mom's was like, you know how hard people have to work to. Mom, second place. Like nobody's here for that. Like I placed as a freshman. I placed as a junior or as a sophomore. My junior year, I was poised to be the best. I should have been the best at a power stance, and I ended up taking second because I couldn't stay my ass in the ring. That's discipline. That's on me. And I chucked this thing, and my dad was like, you know what you have to do to be better. You got to take this thing more seriously. And it's moments like that bring you back to the hard work and that effort, as in watching them go to work, come in, work out, and every Saturday we knew we were going to run sprints. Whatever sport we were playing at the time, whether it be basketball, football, we knew we were doing something sports related. So while every other kid that I knew on Saturdays, wake up, they do chores, you hear similar stories of, hey, I took my, me and the fam went out to the park. And if you went out to the park or, whatever your situation was, you were sort of hooping without guidance. I'm out there running full routes, we're drenched, but we're also watching him do everything that he wants us to do. I had a couple friends who had their dads that would, take them to the park and make them run, but my dad is leading the charge. I had a couple friends.
That's the difference.
Exactly. I had a couple friends, who would really put in perspective is that didn't have the father figure that we had. So he was playing father figure to a lot of my friends because it was like on Saturdays, we're going to the park to get this work in. And I didn't even understand it, how special it was because my friends were like, dude, like, this is what I've been looking for. And I was like, bro, this is what I'm trying to get out of.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Cam, was there a special time? Was it a defining moment if you look back? Because I know there were for me. There was a couple of things that happened to me when I came to the country, when I got introduced to football, and then when I realized I could do it, changed my life forever. Right? Was there a moment in your life, whether it was high school or at Cal, which I want to touch on a little bit because that's. Your dad's at Brown, you're at Cal, both very good schools. Education was important. But was there a defining moment or somebody besides your dad that clarified that for you, where you said, I'm
good enough to go to the NFL or like,
Yeah, it could be anything. Could be, something that was said to you, a guy that took, besides your dad, maybe that took you under his arm and mentored you, or somebody who influenced it by his actions and by his legitimacy and the way he was, how authentic he was, and how morally strong he was, spiritually strong. Could be anything.
Oh man, at every level of my life, I think I've had somebody who I could look up to. Once I got to college, anyways. In high school. So, 8th grade, I thought I was going to be the next Allen Iverson. I was playing basketball. Okay. I was also portly. I was like, I was like 5'7" or 5'8", and I was 200 pounds. So like, yeah, the girth of the kid wasn't saying, two guard anywhere.
Right.
And that's when Pops was like, look, man, you need to go play football. And I was like, I hear you, but I'm about this basketball. So then he threw my pads in my chest and was like, oh, this is your practice. And had to figure it out. And again, my competitive spirit comes into play. I'm like, bro, I don't want to be here, so I'm not going to do anything. And the lack of effort I gave was very vindictive towards, what my father was trying to foresee, or, with my frame being involved. And we get to the first game, and I'm like, all right, well, it's time to go play. And of course, I'm riding the pine, which had never happened to me at this point in my life. And I was like, what's the issue, man? Like, your practice tells you you're not ready to play. And I'm like, all right. Yeah, so the first game, I'm like, man, I don't care about this sport anyway. Second game rolls around, I'm like, I put in 2 weeks of practice, albeit they may not have been my best effort, but I know I'm better than some of these kids out on this field. And it's like, you get your mandatory like 3 or 4 plays that you have to play in Pop Warner and you're out of there.
Yeah.
So about that 3rd week, I'm like, all right, so something's got to give. I'm taking these hits and I don't want to be here anyways, but it seems like I'm here for the season. Something's got to change. So of course, I started giving my best efforts, and I might have been playing with kids that are probably like a year older than me, anyways. But in size wise, I'm one of the bigger kids out there. So in the next couple of weeks, I become a starter. Next couple of weeks after that, I become a captain of the team. By end of season, by it's all said and done, again, I'm a captain. I'm whatever it's supposed to be. But I'm looking at it, I was like, yo, if I give my best effort in whatever that I do, there's not much that's going to hold me back. So I am my worst enemy, and I sort of took that on early on. So then high school rolls around, start playing tackle, varsity level of freshman year. I'm looking at my older brother play high school football. I'm just like, yo, I want to be varsity player like my older brother. I want to, you have an older brother, you set your goal. So you obtain that, but he's playing defense, I'm playing offense. And I'm like, yo, I'm sort of, sophomore, junior year, I sort of like, why am I playing offensive tackle getting hit in the chest when I could be hitting somebody? Like, what's more fun, being hit or doing the hitting? And of course, my dad comes to me and was like, hey, why don't you play tight end? I'm not Steve Jordan Jr. Like, I'm not a junior. My name is Cam Jordan. Like, I was like, Dad, there's nothing in this book that will get me to your tight end. I'm already playing your sport. Like, I'm not playing your position. And probably hurt him. Like, he'll never say it out loud. Probably hurt him. So then I make myself a defensive end. When you're trying to get scouted for colleges, you go off to these football camps where it's the no pads. It's just the offensive lineman versus defensive lineman shadowing, whatever it is. In high school, it wasn't shadowing. This was like real football. We should have suited up with pads. You know what I'm saying? Like the amount of damage that we were doing to each other, you should have had pads.
Yeah.
This is long before heads-up football ever got into play.
I understand.
And nobody cared about, whatever it is. But so we're going, and they're like, yo, offensive lineman go left, defensive lineman go right. And I was like, why am I getting hit? I go over to the right, defensive line, and I never really looked back. I get into the ground. I beat some of their top product, the top offensive lineman prospects, and I make a name for myself. Going to my junior year, had some sacks, had great success. Heading into the senior year, had like 17 and a half sacks as a senior in high school. Had plenty of scholarships. Ended up going to the University of California at Berkeley, and then really met guys that I could look up to. I mean, my first college game was against the University of Tennessee, and Deshawn Jackson returns a punt return to the house. And it's like, you're no longer like every team that you've been a part of. You can see yourself being, if not the best athlete on the team, top 2, top 3. But you get to college, you're like, there's a different level of play. I had guys like Javid Best who came in with me. There was Javid Best, Shane Vereen, Chris Conti, Mitchell Schwartz, who just won another Super Bowl. Just guys in my class, you're like, yo, like, this is the difference level. Like, in high school, it's like, oh, you're the best of the best, and it's easy for you to be the best. In college, it's like, this is where you have to work. I had a defensive end opposite of me in Tyson Alulu, which would allude to who was the guy you looked up to. He was like a top tier DN for us. We played a 3-4 at the time. It was like, yo, he does everything the right way. This is how he goes about his business. This is the man that I sort of want to be. And I mean, he was a God-fearing Christian man that plays for the Steelers now. And he's in year 11. I mean, but I saw him put in the work effort that he did, and I was like, nobody outworks me at this time. So I'm like, yo, whatever I need to do, I need to up my level here.
I love your story about going taking a right instead of a left. Think about that. You talk about a defining moment, but you had made up your mind that if I go left, I'm getting hit. If I go right, I can do the hitting.
Toronto versus Cam Jordan, yes.
and you did at Cal, and you mentioned Deshawn Jackson, really a special talent. You don't see that type of speed very often. Talk a little bit about Deshawn.
Man, so I was a freshman. He was a junior about to leave. We had Justin Forsett too. I mean, just Cal roster at the time was crazy. Marvin Jones ended up, Keenan Allen, crazy athletes on the team. Yeah. But my freshman year, so it's Deshawn Jackson. He returns one. I'm a true freshman, so I get to play. My claim to fame at the time was I made the first tackle of the game. I was on kickoff.
All right, there you go.
I made the first tackle. Yeah. So Deshawn Jackson returns one back, and you see how special he is. There was the Oregon game that same year where he gives a guy an outside fake and takes one upside the sideline for like 40 for a touchdown, and you're just looking like, like these are special players. Like when they say, hey, he's going to the NFL, you look at guys like Deshawn is going to the NFL.
You knew right away.
You knew right away. There was guys like, Justin Forsett where you're like, hey, he's going to work hard. I don't know if he goes to the NFL or not. And then he goes and has an 8-year career. You're like, yo, his work ethic set him apart. But you talk about Deshawn Jackson. There was just so many games where it's like how electric he was. You never saw him get beat. I could say you never saw him get beat by any other team in a foot race. On our same team, we had Javid Best. And Javid Best ran a 10-2 in high school and was probably even faster in pads. He got drafted first round to Detroit some years back, and then because of concussions, he couldn't prolong his career, but he was special. The only person I ever seen Deshawn Jackson lose to was Javid. So you figure, and he may have lost to him by a step. I mean, that's just how blazing fast it was. We had 2 guys like this. That was absolutely crazy.
What does Cal need to do? If we look at today's Cal team, right? What do they need to do to be a real power in the Pac-12?
Everything. I don't like. We left. It was a 7-year gap before we had another first rounder.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened. I mean, we talk about the talent that's in the Bay. It's like, they have to recruit better from the Bay Area. You talk about how we had Saquon Thompson on our team, older brother of Shaq Thompson, and Shaq Thompson goes to UW. How does that happen? You have Michael Kendricks on the team, but somehow Eric Kendricks gets to UCLA.
Yeah.
Although they're from Fresno, so that's technically mid-California. I'm just, when you have the older brother, you should automatically get the younger brother.
Right. Why? I'm looking at the playoff, the college football playoff committee, and I just don't feel like the Pac-12 gets a lot of love. Why?
It's because we're so destructive towards each other. Like, we can beat all types of Big Tens, SECs, and SEC schools, but we get back to the Pac and we destroy each other. Like, you'll see, we'll be top ranked, and it'll be like, Oregon or Stanford or UCLA or USC, and then you'll just get beat by Utah, Cal, Arizona State. It's so self-destructive. we can flex on a lot of different schools from a lot of different conferences, but get back to the conference and get so conflicted.
Who was the toughest lineman that you went against in the NFL? Like, who were you dreading? Or was there anybody that you go, oh, no, not so-and-so?
Probably the same guy that I used to go against in college, if I had to think of one. Down at USC, there was Tyron Smith, and Tyron Smith, when healthy, is one of the best offensive linemen that you're going to face. The only other 2 offensive linemen I can say are similar are Teron Armstead and then Ryan Ramczyk, and they're both on our team.
Beautiful. So you get to go against them a little bit in practice.
In practice, like training camp is all out warfare because these are the best tackles that you're going to get. So you can't slack off because it's like if you decide to take a play off, they're going to get the better of you.
Well, I don't know if we're doing a trade secret here now, so maybe I should whisper this question, Cam. But what is your best move? Like your best move to defeat an offensive lineman to the quarterback? Do you have? I mean, I'm aware of the rip and the swim and turns and all of this. The what?
Chop swim. It's
chop swim.
It's a move that I've been told by coaches since high school that it was never going to work. And it's a move that since high school that, I came to the game with and I'm always going to have. A chop swim is always going to work. When you swim over somebody, they're always like, hey, you're exposing your chest and offensive lineman's going to punch you in it. But at the end of the day, so this isn't basketball. It's okay to get punched. Like, it's okay to throw out, but as many times as you're going to get hit, you're giving out more hits.
I know you enjoyed hitting the quarterback. Was there anybody that you liked to do that more against, like a Cam Newton, or who did you like to see most on his back?
You know who it is.
Matt Ryan.
There we go. You knew it. Like, that's my guy.
So what happens when you're laying on top of Matt Ryan? Do you throw smack at somebody after you sack him? Let's take Matt Ryan now. You've just put him on the ground. Now what?
I'm so appreciative. I've got nothing but love for him. I might help him up, dust him off. I went
after you do this little thing.
As soon as I finish up what I got to do, I come like, you good? I've told him plenty of times. I was like, hey, baby, I couldn't get a sack without you. If anything, I'm overly blessed. Hey, thank you for being here. I will see you soon.
So, Cam, what if I play the what if game with you right now and say that Matt Ryan, if for some reason and his cap number wasn't $47.5 million, what if the Saints decide to bring Matt in?
Sacrilegious.
Would that be a good fit?
Sacrilegious. I don't even conceive it. I stopped being a Minnesota Vikings fan because Brett Favre went over. When you're born in Minnesota and then you grow up loving a team, you can't accept a rival coming over. I'll take Aaron Rodgers any day of the week. I'll take,
So my 8 years in Atlanta was sacrilegious.
That's what I'm saying. It's sort of tough. Like you can't, especially back in the 80s and the 90s when it was really like it was actual fights happening.
And I'm going to curl up in a fetal position and suck my thumb for a while, man, because Cam Jordan just told me that.
You knew better. You knew better, but you can't stop a job. At the end of the day, I'm sure a job is a job.
Also have to understand that there's a paycheck that needs to be happening at some point.
Right.
So I hear you. I hear you on that one. That was a very conflicted time for me. Not going to lie. Very, very conflicted.
I'm sure the first couple seasons, you're like, I don't know if I should be here. 2 games.
But I did come home to the mothership.
Right. You always come on back.
Hey, can I play the name game with you as we finish up here, brother? Best defensive. Well, let me throw this at you real quick here first. Best defensive player in the league today.
You'd have to go with 3-time DPOY Aaron Donald for consistency since he's been in the league.
What about the toughest quarterback to take down? You kind of told me who you'd like to take down as your favorite, but who's the toughest?
Man, I'd say Russell Wilson because you never know where he's going to be. Like he looks forward to escaping the pocket, just in terms of how elusive he is. Or Kyler Murray because like he's 5'4", 5'7". What is he listed? Let's call him 5. I think they try and list him at like 5'10". He's 5'7", 5'8". So, your average offensive lineman is 6'5". You can't track him.
No.
It's impressive. But in terms of hitting somebody and keep him up, Cam Newton. Cam Newton's 6'6", like 250. Like you hit him and you might bounce off of him if you don't hit him. Yeah, 250 is probably spotting him some pounds. Now he's older. He's got like vegan or whatever it is. So Cam Newton, when he first got to the league, was me. Plus 2 inches. He was like 6'6", like 275, 280.
Cam said he's going to lose more weight, another 20 pounds, and he looks skinny to me already.
Right. He got down to like 240 or something like that. So if he loses,
man, I don't know.
Hey, whatever it was. He was balling. He was balling until he got COVID, and then
yes, and that you're making a valid point there. I had Andre Tippett on the show, and we talked about Cam a little bit. Do you think he'll be back in New England?
Maybe. I mean, Cam's a baller, so anywhere he goes,
yeah.
If he gets comfortable in the system, I think if you spot him another year, you're going to see what he was able to do. Because if you look at it the part of the season, he was killing the game.
All right, here comes the name game for us, brother. Sean Payton. What comes to mind when I say Sean Payton?
The premier head coach, a guy who is aggressive in terms of play calling and will ride with the players any day of the week.
Tom Benson.
Rest in peace.
As an owner, when he was here with us, him and Gail, what are they meant to New Orleans, the organization, and the team?
Oh man, you talk about the Bensons, what they do for the team. I mean, at the forefront of my mind, Gail has done such a phenomenal job of running the organization since she's taken over. The improvements she made not only to the locker room or the training room, the cafeteria. She elevated how we go about our daily situation. So nothing but the greatest respects, as well as the people who gave me a chance to be a part of the Saints organization.
Will Smith.
Man, rest in peace again. I mean, we talking about when I first got into the league, he was the leader. Like when I first got out to the league, he was already in Arizona. So my first offseason, I was trading at Exos, which is now XPE or something like that, or whatever it is now, out in Scottsdale. For my rookie combine training. And, as soon as I got drafted, I was like, hey, you're the big dog. You're somebody who's won a Super Bowl. You've had a 13-sack season. Like, how do you be successful? And he gave me information off the rip. He was already down in Scottsdale, so we linked up. And he was like, hey, when we work hard. When we do this, we do this. And Will Smith had that New York. Like, I don't know how he never lost it. He was up in Ohio State for a couple of years, and then came down.
Oh, right.
That greasy New York accent about him, that just hard edge about him. But he showed so much love when I was younger. It was like, like to be successful is more than just loving the sport. It's about how you take to the game. So he was an awesome, mentor for the first year or two, and then under him, I was able to spread my wings.
Akeem Hicks.
That's my dog. He's a problem. You know what I'm saying? He's a monster in the middle. That dude is one of my more favorite teammates ever because of the passion he has for the game. Like in his mind, he's this small, nimble guy. And then you look at him and he's 6'5", 6'6", 300, and I'm just gonna leave the plus out there. And he's got an edge and a motor and an aggressiveness to him that you don't see too often with his size and athleticism. He wants to win every down. Competitive. There's not one word that'll signify petty. Competitive and petty. Because like if you actually get the best of him in one snap, just know the rest of the game he's targeting you.
I love it. That's the ultimate competitive spirit, man. Exactly. When somebody has a chip on his shoulder because he failed, that's awesome. Exactly. That's what we want. We need 53 dogs like that, man. You know what I'm saying?
And now look, he's over Chicago, and I'm still like, so you ready to come back yet?
Yeah, I like it. How about Mark Ingram?
Man, Mark Ingram. Man, I'd like to say like a righteous warrior would be like he does in terms of football. Like he does everything the right way. He does everything with a target, a mentality to get better. He's all, and yet when I say righteous in terms of he's not selfish. He's selfless in terms of, sometimes as long as he was part of the Saints, there was a committee of running backs. And yet he did his part every time. You're talking about when he first came in, it was him and Sproles and you talk about it was him and CJ Spiller with Pierre still being there. Chris Ivory, him and Pierre. It was him, Darren Sproles and Pierre. It was him, somebody else. And then of course we go get AK. So then it's him and AK. And you never once saw a power struggle was like, I want to be the main workhorse, selfless. And at the same time, he hypes up like the energy he brings to offense, energy he brings while being on the sidelines watching the defense, unrivaled.
Alvin Kamara seems like such a fun guy, man. Such a free spirit. I hear he walks home from the game every Sunday and hangs with the fans.
Such a great teammate, super laid back. And then, you see him on the field and he's a dog. His balance is unreal.
Yeah.
Unmatched.
Malcolm Jenkins.
Malcolm Jenkins. Which Malcolm Jenkins do you want? I mean,
the
young Malcolm Jenkins, like young Malcolm Jenkins was fun. That was back when after wins, you go out into the city. Now, at least with COVID around, you're not allowed to do it anymore.
Right.
But the mental savvy that Malcolm Jenkins has always had, it sets him apart.
Jonathan Vilma.
That's my guy. That's like my. When you think of a leader, you think Jonathan Vilma on defense. Just like, this is what we got to do to win. This is how we're going to do things. Like, just a guy who was always aimed towards winning, and really the only person I've seen be able to challenge Drew Brees mentally.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, CD Ducey, whatever name he's going to use for the day.
Really?
Wild card. I mean, wild card.
Come on, you got to give me a little more than that.
That's for word association. Wild card. He's the Joker. He is.
Okay.
Man,
I think I know what you mean.
Man, he's the ultimate little.
Is he like a little gnat on your shoulder?
No, he's too big to be a gnat. I'm trying to say he's the Joker. Without rhyme or reason, he's going to antagonize the hell out of each and every receiver, on our team or not on our team. It's what he does. One of my more favorite people, just because his mentality is like, I'm winning, and I'm doing and while I'm winning, I'm going to talk to you the entire time.
Yeah. All right. Talk to me about the two specialists. I'm very fond of both of them. I think they're great. Thomas Morstead, Will Lutz. Those are really two quality dudes right there.
Yeah. Will Clutch.
Oh.
Will Clutch. or it could be big nuts Lutz. But I mean, either
okay.
Have leg will follow through. Lutz has come through in a lot of clutch situations. That's why I call him Clutch Lutz. Big Nuts Lutz is probably more affectionately his nickname.
Thomas Morstead.
The leg. The leg. It goes without saying. Man of the people, man of the community, SMU cat. SMU cats are a little different, but he's not. He's a man of the people. Even better person off the field than he is on the field.
Drew Brees.
One of the GOATs. One of the best to ever lace him up at quarterback position. More record holder would probably be a better name for him other than quarterback. Record holder. He's done broke all of them. He more 5,000-yard seasons than anybody. That's at one point in time more yards, more touchdowns, more this, whatever record there was. The only one he didn't break with Brett Favre was probably the most interceptions.
Yeah, well, that's not a one you want to break anyway. So, Cam, you have such a sunny disposition. Can you give me some final words on your secret sauce that we can share with the young generation? What do you want your legacy to be? I know you've only gone 10 years in the NFL, and there may be another 5 or 10 there for you. Who knows? God willing. Who knows?
In my mind, 6. I'm speaking into fruition. But,
okay.
But the motto that I always go by and always continue to preach on, one is thank you, Jesus, for the blessings given to me to be able to display my craft each and every day that I'm able to take breath. But it's really, 1% better every day. 1% better every day. Whatever I did yesterday, whether it would be a 4-sack game performance or, I had 10 tackles in a game, whatever it is, 1% better every day. Whether it be, being a better dad, whether it be, being a better husband, or in my mind, boyfriend. I say boyfriend all the time because I feel like husband is stagnant. Like once you become a husband, then it's like, hey, like this is what we're ball and chain here.
I love that. What a lot of little is.
Yeah, exactly. Just 1%. If you can always push for forward progress in some degree, some fashion, then you never become stagnant. As we all know, once you become stagnant, you're really declining.
That is correct. It is a marathon. It's not a sprint. I try to tell my young guys this, that if you just look for the process and embrace the process, the results that you ultimately desire will automatically happen. There is no other choice because the process is so powerful, powerfully executed. 1% at a time, like you're saying. I think that's a beautiful way to end it, Cam.
Perfect.
I appreciate your time. Shall we one more time, brother? Level it up to the vacay. Level it up to vacation. Enjoy yourself, and I hope to see you soon, man. Really enjoyed my time with you.
Absolutely. Appreciate you for having me on.